Everyone, myself is Dr. Yasin. I am from Civil Engineering Department. So, for all the engineering graduates, so you have to clear this environmental studies. It is an objective type examination which is conducted by VTU. Earlier it used to be for first semester students, and as per your stream, it is been put into fifth semester for all the branches of engineering, and for mechanical engineering both sections A and B. So I will be handling this course. Okay, so this course comprises of general aspects of environmental engineering and the current issues like global environmental issues. Okay, so the government wants every engineering graduate to have the awareness about environmental engineering, just to achieve the sustainability in all the aspects, whatever branch or whatever work you are doing in your future endeavors. So with this regard, this subject has been put, and please remember this, there is weekly one contact hour for this subject. Okay, and it contains the syllabus by VTU, so which is given here, as you can see. So it is similar to all other subjects, but the only difference here is the contact hour is, it is a 1 credit course. The contact hour is 1 per week. It is having the SCE marks as 60 and continuous internal evaluation marks as 40, and the exam duration hours will be of 2 hours, which comprising of 100 marks question. Okay, and similar to the examination pattern, we will also conduct internals, that is you have to attend 3 internals. Okay, so this is the syllabus. Okay, a module 1 consists of ecosystems, the basic structure and function of ecosystems, and the different types of ecosystem, biodiversity, importance of biodiversity, what are the threats to biodiversity, then conservation of biodiversity, the different that is wealth, forest wealth, and the problems of deforestation, etc., which most of you might have been already studied this in your high school level and also at PU level, but just to again refresh you about these things, which is very important, because nowadays so everybody talks about sustainability, so we have to work so in achieving the sustainability development goals prescribed by the United Nations. So in this regard, we have to know the minimum knowledge about our surroundings, our water resources, our environment, our air. So considering those things, this subject has been kept for all the engineering graduates and almost every graduate, so who should have the minimum knowledge. So similarly in module 2, we will learn about the different alternative sources of energy apart from the conventional sources. So that is hydrogen energy, hydrogen fuel cell energy, solar energy, ocean thermal energy, then energy generation using tides and wind energy, and the importance of it, how it is generated, in what way it is sustainable, then natural resources management, that is a disaster management, then sustainable mining. So what is meant by cloud seeding and what is meant by carbon trading in module 2. In module 3, you learn about what are the different kinds of pollution and how to prevent that, maybe it will help you to cut down the different kinds of pollution in your work professions and also so in your surroundings and our living conditions. And we will learn something about biomedical waste, solid waste management, hazardous waste management, what are the impacts of this waste, how it is generated, and how to properly treat and mitigate them. Then in module 4, you learn about the trends like the groundwater depletion. Nowadays everywhere you can see the groundwater is not coming under our reach, as we have to go deeper and deeper to just fetch some groundwater. So nowadays it is very difficult to groundwater even in most of the rural areas because of the depletion of the groundwater resources. That is due to excessive population and urbanization. We are exploiting much of groundwater resources. That's why we have been facing crisis with respect to water resources, and how to recharge the groundwater. then the problems of climate change, what are its effects, how it is being affecting the global economy, then what is meant by acid rain and why, what are its causes, when do you call the acid rain, then ozone depletion, then the very common problems like fluoride problem and radon problem, which is most common in most of the cities. Then especially in rural India we have the fluoride problem, which is affecting millions of children, people living in the areas rich in fluoride mineral in the soil. And the radon pollution, which is killing many people in US and other areas where we have rich radon, that is a radioactive material which is present in the soil and which is finding its entry in our indoor environment, because most of the time we spend our time in indoors, especially during this pandemic. Many of the people are spending much time indoors, and so if you have the radon pollution in your indoors, so it will lead to the problems like cancer and neurological disorders, etc. Okay, so then the resettlement and rehabilitation of the people, why it is being done and why it is being necessary and how it is to be done, and certain terms like environmental toxicology. Okay, so because we have to interact with our environment in our day-to-day life, that is we have to drink water, we have to roam around places wherein we have to inhale and exhale air, and what living conditions we are living, and what should be the environment, what should be the suitable environment. So it is very much necessary for a healthy individual. So that is why, so you should have bare minimum knowledge of these kinds of things which is happening around us, and it is more or less a general knowledge kind of subject, wherein every person should know the minimum and limited knowledge about the environment, just to address these issues effectively together to achieve the sustainable development. Then module 5, lastly, it contains some techniques like GIS, the remote sensing applications, environmental impact assessment, and things like environmental management system, then environmental stewardships and what is the role of NGO. And it is also containing a visit to green building or water treatment plant or wastewater treatment plant, how it is working, what is the process, because every day we drink water, so we should know from where it is coming, what are the sources of water, so how it is being treated, what chemicals it is being used, and what challenges the treatment crew has to go through to obtain the clean water, and all those things you should be aware of. Okay, so these are the things which everyone should be aware of, and it should be transparent, and we should know that what is the quality of water which we are doing, whether it is healthy, because nowadays, as you know, people are very scared of the diseases, and out of that most of the diseases spread through waterborne disease, through waterborne, that is the diseases which is caused due to the drinking of contaminated water and improper hygiene and sanitation. Nowadays sanitation is the latest buzzword, wherein we are hearing in our day-to-day life, without sanitization or without sanitizer, so our day is not going to end. So for that reason, we should know what is the purpose of providing a treatment plant, water treatment plant, what are the chemicals, how the water should be treated, and what are the impurities the water may be having in these days. So in these days the water is contaminated heavily with loads of chemicals and pollutants, and also various kinds of viruses, bacteria and protozoans which are not even aware to human knowledge. Okay, so till now, as you can see, more than 7 months have been passed and we are not able to find out the exact vaccination and treat people who are millions of people who are dying due to this pandemic. So it's really challenging days are ahead for all of us. So we should at least know what kind of water we should drink and how to treat our wastewater. We should know how to recycle our wastewater to meet the growing demand of fresh water. So all these things we should be aware, so that we can practice in our day-to-day life and achieve sustainability, so that we can live a better, safer world for the coming generations. Okay, so just to enlighten you people on the environment issues, so this subject has been kept. Okay, so these are the course outcomes. Okay, so you will understand what is the principles of ecology, what is meant by environment, what is meant by air, so what are its principles with respect to global scale, and you will develop the critical thinking or observational skills and apply them to the analysis of a problem and questions related to the environment. Okay, so once you understand the issues and what is happening, what is the importance of clean air, clean water, clean land, land pollution, solid waste management, noise pollution, etc., so you will employ certain skills so as to avoid all those problems while in whatever profession you are. Then you have to demonstrate knowledge of ecology and complex relationship between biotic and abiotic components. See, there is a close relationship between living and non-living components on the earth. Okay, so we mainly depend on sun for our existence. It is a major source of energy, and that is a abiotic component, that it is not having any life, but still every human being we have to interact with the sunlight because it is a major source of photosynthesis. We have to depend on photosynthesis for our food. So likewise, there are very complex relationship between different ecosystems, different ecological systems, then different organisms. For example, a simple bacteria is required for the proper aeration of the soil, that is we call it as the bacteria which is present in the root nodules of the trees, which is ribosomas bacteria, which is present, family of ribosomes, which is very much essential for the aeration of the soil, and it will increase the soil properties, and it will cause the natural convert the nitrites into nitrates, which is an important phenomena. So we cannot even ignore a single insect in an ecosystem. So the relationships are very complex. So we will try to understand some of the basic knowledge about relationships and how it is important. For example, you might be aware that Einstein has once apparently said that if there is absence of bees or pollinators, then after some period of time the humans are going to die. So he has once said this because bees are very much essential in pollination, because without bees or without these pollinators we will not be able to get most of our fruits and vegetables, for which the pollination is very much necessary. So here every individual which God has created on this earth has some purpose of work which is very much essential. And also you might be knowing about the quality of honeybee. So honeybees are very essential because nobody can create honeybee artificially. So people will do so many things, but the actual natural process has to happen with the insect. So that is a honeybee which produces an insect, and nobody could understand how it produces the honeybee, and it is a quite complex process. Sometimes we cannot understand, and it is beyond our imagination. So that's why it is a very complex relationship. So we will try to understand the relationship so that we can manage the resources in a better way. Then we should apply the knowledge which you obtain and illustrate and graph a problem, describe the realities that managers face while dealing the complex issues. That means once we try to understand some of the relationships like this, we can propose a solutions for that which are quite complex, and with respect to the environment. That is, we have to have nowadays many people who are living in metro cities, they might have faced the challenges related to the usage of water. So even if you are ready to pay so much of money, you may not be able to get the water on exact time due to the shortage of water. Okay, so under that circumstances we may have to go for rooftop rainwater recharging systems and all to deal the problem, to solve the problem of water. So this is just an example. Likewise, we may have to sort the alternative ways. So once you understand the concepts of environment and ecology, then we can definitely have some solutions to achieve the sustainability. Okay, then this is the question paper pattern. So like I told you, it is having 100 objective type of question, and each question will carry 1 marks each, and you have to it is an OMR kind of sheet which will be given in your examination. It will be of 2 hours comprising of 100 questions. Then it is reduced to 60 marks. It is a 60-40 as per your VTU scheme. Then you have to write the internal for 40 marks for all the 3 internals. So that will be again 60-40 scheme. Then you can refer some of the books which is given here. The Environmental Studies by Benny Joseph. You can also refer Environmental Studies by S.M. Prakash by Pristine Publication House. You can study Environmental Studies from Crisis to Cure by Rajagopalan, and you can also go for some of the reference books like Principles of Environmental Science and Engineering by Raman Sivkumar. Then Environmental Science Working with the Earth by G. Taylor and Miller. Then Textbook of Environment and Ecology by Pratibha Singh for additional learning and all. Okay, if you are really fascinated by the environmental phenomena or complex problems, and you have to understand the concepts of, see, the environmental studies is a mixture of chemistry, biology, then so many other streams. So ecology, the study of ecology, chemistry, then zoology, then botany, because we have to understand the complex phenomena between living things, non-living things, plants, animals, small creatures, microbes, which involve a multidisciplinary approach to solve the environmental problems which we are facing in our day-to-day life. So that is the reason we have to if you want some additional learning, you can go for this additional learning resources. Okay, so this is the pattern and the reference books. Okay, so coming to the basics with respect to module 1, so I will just go through some of the outlines which you must be knowing, and sometimes you will get the 1 mark question as what is meant by ecosystem, who coined the term ecosystem, and all things like that. Okay, so basically we should understand what is meant by this ecosystem. In your module 1, you will have to study about what is meant by environment, what is ecosystem, types of ecosystem, what are the biotic and abiotic components in different kinds of ecosystem. So basically the word environment is a French word, okay, so which is derived from a word called as environ, which means surrounding. Okay, so similarly we have another term called as ecosystem. The word ecosystem is a Greek term which was first coined by Sir A.G. Tansley. Okay, so ecosystem consists of 2 different words called as eco and system. Eco means referring to the environment, and system means interaction. That means there is an interaction between living and non-living creatures from different ecosystems. Like I told you, sun is the major source of energy, which is a non-living thing, and it has to interact with the living things. That is, the plant needs sunlight for their photosynthesis for proper growth and development. So ecosystem basically consists of the 2 systems comprising of environment and its interaction. Okay, so it was first coined by Sir A.G. Tansley. Okay, according to Odom, American ecologist, the ecosystem is the basic functional unit of organism and their environment interacting with each other and with their own components. Okay, so there are various kinds of ecosystem which you can see here, which is given in the picture. So we have grassland ecosystem, we have forest ecosystem, we have aquarium, we have pond ecosystem, we have lake, and we have riverine ecosystem, we have ocean ecosystems. So likewise the ecosystems are plenty. Ecosystems can be as small as a pond, or it can be as big as a very big ocean, which comprising of different nature of organisms. That interaction between the organisms, the living and non-living components, is called as the ecosystem. For example, this is called as grassland ecosystem. So here the living components are the animal which is grazing here, the non-living component is the grass. Okay, so you may be having some other components, that is the sunlight, which is a non-living component. Here grass is a living component, sorry, I told it is a non-living component. So grass is a living component because it is a plant, and the grazing animals, it depend on grass, and this grass will depend upon the sunlight. Okay, similarly we have forest ecosystem. So it is quite relatively bigger than this, which is having different species of plants, which may be small shrubs to herbs or bigger plants or a canopy kind of plants, so which again serves as an ecosystem for different kinds of breeding animals and insects. Then you have ocean ecosystem, so which is a very big ecosystem. So because 3/4 of our earth is covered by the oceans, then it may contain a variety and large species of organisms, and there will be various kinds of interactions. That is, we have bottom level organisms which are very different, and it lives very deep without the necessity of sunlight and all, and there are certain organisms and small fishes which live in the stratified layer of the ocean in between the layers, and there are certain organisms which live on the upper layers. Okay, so based on the, because they may need sunlight, and so this is how the ecosystem varies from one system to another. Okay, so broadly they are classified into two different types, that is terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem refers to the land, that is the organisms which live or dwell on the land, so they are called as terrestrial organisms, or the systems which is in which the organisms live is called as the terrestrial ecosystem. The examples include the grassland or forest ecosystem or desert ecosystem. Then aquatic ecosystems means the ecosystems which are existing in the water bodies, so it may be a pond, lake, river or estuary, or also the ocean. Okay, so like I told you, the structure of ecosystem consists of two important components, so that is biotic and abiotic components. Biotic means which will not have any life, that is called as abiotic components. Biotic components means the organisms which have life. So abiotic components of an ecosystem includes the soil, which does not have any life, then water, then light, the sunlight, then inorganic nutrients and weather. So these comprising of the abiotic or non-living components of the ecosystem. Biotic components includes the producers and consumers, that means the living organisms which dwell either on the land or on the water. It includes animals, insects or the plants, etc. Okay, so any ecosystem will have both the abiotic and biotic components. Okay, so these biotic components, okay, from the nutrition point of view, they are divided into producers, consumers and decomposers. Okay, so producers means the organisms which produce their own food, for example plants. Okay, so they just need sunlight, okay, and they produce their own food and they grow accordingly. Okay, so based on the sunlight and nutritional requirements. So then we have consumers. It means they depend on other organisms for their food. For example, humans, we are the biggest consumers, okay, in the ecosystem. Okay, so the living and most intelligent consumers, we depend so much on the nature for our food and for almost every requirement. Okay, so no doubt that there are also some bigger sea creatures and all, but I told the intelligent consumers are only humans. We need environment for our most of the purposes. Then we have decomposers, so they will act upon the dead and decayed matter and they will degrade the organic matter into simpler end products, and these comprises of the biotic components of an ecosystem. Okay, so the stratification means the different species. If you take a forest ecosystem, you might have seen the bigger plants, the canopy kind one, the higher plants, then you might have seen the coconut trees or date trees, then you have small shrubs and herbs. Okay, so there are various types of the plants and the plant species. So this is called as the different species occupying the different levels is called as a stratification. It is usually seen in the bigger forests, where you will find different kinds of species of trees ranging from the smaller plants to very bigger trees. Okay, the functions of ecosystem. Okay, so we consider three aspects, that is productivity, decomposition and energy flow. Okay, so what is meant by productivity? The rate of biomass production is called as productivity. Its unit is kilocalories per meter square per year. Okay, then we have gross primary productivity. The rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis is called as gross primary productivity. So GPP is given by total energy fixed, the net PP is given by GPP minus respiration. Okay, so this is the gross primary productivity of an ecosystem. Secondary productivity means the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers is called secondary productivity. Okay, here you can see with an illustration. Here what happens is the plant biomass gets accumulated, and we as a consumers will take this, and that is we take the plant biomass, or we eat certain plants and vegetables. Okay, so then this will come down to as after the consumers, so So we will give the end products these detritus, and it is exudates, and some will be not decomposed and some of it will be decomposed. So these decomposers will degrade the organic matter into simpler end products and convert it into carbon dioxide and water. So this gives the relationship between the producers and consumers and also decomposers. That is, the individual plants will produce their own food, and we as a consumers, we depend on plants. So then we will discharge the waste matter, and even upon our dead decayed matter, the detritus organisms, the microbes or decomposers will feed upon, and they will convert and degrade the organic matter into simpler end products. The inorganic matter which is not decayed, so it is buried under sediments. So that is how this the components of productivity ranges. So the decomposition means, like I told you, it is the breakdown of the large chain organic matter or complex organic matter into simpler end products like carbon dioxide and water and nutrients. So this usually happens in 5 different phases. First is called as fragmentation, then leaching, catabolism, humidification, then mineralization. So using these processes one by one, first the hydrolysis takes place, the fragments takes place because there will be a complex long chain organic matter. So then leaching takes place, then the bacteria will act upon that and they will use the organic matter as the food, and they will grow and develop. That is a process called as catabolism with the liberation of energy and heat. Then humidification takes place, then ultimately the mineralization takes place with the release of carbon dioxide and water. So this you can see decomposition cycle in a terrestrial ecosystem. So considering an example of a tree here, so the tree will give out a tree grows in the soil. A green leaf may be falling on the ground, and some may be eaten by the insects and other animals and nutrients, and the energy will enter the food web. So this will, some nutrients may also leach into the soil by the chemical action, and the soil will become organically rich. So this partially consumed leaves by decomposition, so it will be, they begin to lose form and they become the litter. So further decomposition again takes place by the earthworms, bacteria and mites and fungi, and it will be again broken down into simpler end products. So this organically rich soil which is loaded with nutrients and all, so this is again suitable for the growth of the plants, because if the soil is rich in nutrients, so it will be helpful for proper growth and development. So then there is some concept called as energy flow. The flow of energy is one-way direction from producers to consumers, and it ends in decomposition process. However, a part of energy is lost as heat and agrees with the phenomena of second law of thermodynamics. That is, you might be knowing the law of thermodynamics. So energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one phase to another. So this is what happens. So the flow of energy takes place always from the producers and to the decomposers. So it is always unidirectional flow. So then you have the grazing food chain. So here you can see the food chain as here the producers will be there at the bottom, which will produce their own food, and goat will, you can take the example of primary consumer, because so the goat may feed upon the grass and other plant products, and that's why it is called as primary consumer. And man may be a secondary consumer, because in turn this goat will act as a food for a man. So that is why this is an example of a food chain wherein you have an interaction between the primary and secondary consumers and also the producers. So then you have the detritus food chain. So it includes the dead and decayed matter, then the primary detritus feed, so this will feed upon this, and the secondary detritus feeds, for example this snake will be eaten by the mongoose or something like that. Then this is the detritus kind of food chain, wherein the here also you can see some kind of primary and secondary detritus feeders. So then the interconnection between all these organisms is called as food web. Okay, so here you can see there is a plant. So this is the primary producer. So the plant may be eaten by goat. Okay, so then it is also eaten by this rabbit. Okay, so then it is can also be eaten by the mouse. So these people will be called as the primary consumers. Okay, so this jackal and lion, okay, so this jackal will feed upon goat by hunting it, so then it becomes the secondary consumer. Similarly, the lion can hunt the goat as well as the jackal and use it as its prey and food, then it becomes the tertiary consumer. Okay, so similarly this wild cat may eat this rabbit, so it becomes the secondary consumer, and in turn this lion may eat this wild cat and it may become the tertiary consumer. Similarly, this mouse may be eaten by owl, okay, or it can also be eaten by a snake. This snake or can be eaten by the kite. Okay, so this is the interconnection between different organisms. Okay, so it is called as the food web. Then, so to that level we call, for the different levels we call it as the trophic levels. Okay, so the trophic level is the position of an organism it occupies in the community or a food chain. Okay, so these the energy, as you can see from this in this pyramid, the tertiary consumers will have 1 kilocalories of energy. Here the producers will have 1000 kilocalories of energy. As you can see, as you go up towards the trophic level, the energy starts to decrease. Okay, so here you can see the producers. So these grasshoppers and all, it depends on the grass as for their food and requirement. So they are called as primary consumers because they directly consume the grass. Okay, so these small mouse and other the secondary consumers will feed on these insects like snake, mouse and all. Okay, they are called as secondary consumers, and this is again eaten by a kite or a eagle, so that is called as the tertiary consumers. So comparatively, as you go up, the tertiary consumers, the energy consumption will be less as you go up towards the trophic levels of this thing. Okay, here you can also see the energy flow in different trophic levels. Okay, so sun, which will give out the energy. So this is the first trophic level, that is plant. Okay, the second trophic level will be the insects. You will get the energy and also a little quantity of heat in the process of metabolism of their growth and proper development. So this will be eaten by the small birds and all. Okay, so this becomes the third trophic level. This is called as secondary consumers. It is called as also carnivorous, which you might be knowing. That is the herbivorous are the ones which depends on the herbs for their food. Okay, so then this can also be again eaten by these birds. So this birds is again eaten by the fourth trophic level, tertiary consumers. So they are called as top carnivores. So they are called as just carnivores and they are called as top carnivores. So remember again here, as you go up the energy level, it will decrease and the organisms of this nature will be more and this nature will be less in the environment. Okay, then based on that we have classified as different pyramids, that is pyramid of number, ecological pyramids, then pyramid of energy and also pyramid of biomass. Okay, so based on the various trophic levels it is called as the different pyramid of numbers. As you can see here, the pyramid of biomass in sea is also generally inverted because the biomass of fishes far exceeds that of phytoplankton. Here what happens, the plants and trees and shrubs will be comparatively more, and the feeders of these primary producers will be little less than this lower level, and the animals which feed on these secondary consumers will be even fewer in numbers. So that's why it takes the number of a pyramid shape. Okay, so that is why it is called as pyramid, and as the number goes on decreases from bottom to top. Okay, so it resembles a shape of a pyramid. Okay, so this is called as pyramid of biomass. Here the pyramid of biomass in sea is also similar because the biomass of fishes far exceeds that of a phytoplankton. Okay, so here As you can see, it is an inverted pyramid in an aquatic system. The producers are 4 gram per meter square. It is again eaten upon by these herbivorous fishes and all. So this is again eaten upon by this carnivorous. Okay, you can see here the numbers starts to decrease as you go upwards. Okay, and the energy starts to reduce. Then it is the pyramid of energy. The pyramid of energy is always upright and it can never be inverted. Okay, so as you can see, I have told you the flow of energy is it is always unidirectional. So this is the first tropic level. So this is the second tropic level, which is having a primary consumer. Then you have the secondary consumer, which will feed upon these primary consumers. So then we have fourth tropic level. It is called as the tertiary consumer. Okay, so just remember, pyramid of energy, it is always upright. Okay, so we'll stop at this stage. So in this class we have discussed about some of the basics. Then what is meant by ecosystem, who coined the term ecosystem, then the different types of pyramids. Okay.